I'm Susan, and welcome to this Breathe and Stretch yoga class. This is an all-levels class that will stretch your body and calm your mind. What you'll need for this class, potentially, you don't necessarily have to have them. I'll give you modifications if you don't have them, but ideally, if you had a strap, and you can substitute a belt for this, 2 yoga blocks, you can substitute books, and a blanket or a pillow would be nice to have as well. So go ahead and gather those if you don't have them, and then put them off to the side. And have them within reach because we're going to be starting on our backs. Before we do, I just want to name some of the anatomical references that I'm going to be using in this class. So bring your middle fingers to your navel, lower them down a couple of inches, and widen them apart, and you should feel 2 bones right here at the top of the hips, and I'm going to call those your hip points. And then bring one of those hands down and you'll feel your pubic bone. And then take that hand behind you, and there's a bony triangle at the base of the spine, your sacrum. And below that, you can find your tailbone. And then if you lift up one butt cheek, you'll find a bone at the bottom, a sitting bone on one side and then on the other. So those are pelvic bones that I'm going to call by those names. And then a couple of other bony landmarks that I'll be talking about are your big toe mound, which is right here under the big toe. So not the big toe itself, but the big toe mound. And then your index and your thumb knuckles. So right there. All right, so let's start by lying on your back in constructive rest pose. Bring your feet a little wider than your sitting bones and let your knees just fall together, lining the crown of your head over your pelvic floor. But notice for a moment what's going on with your neck. And if your chin is lifting towards the wall behind you, then I would like you, if you have one, to put that blanket or a pillow or something under your head so that your neck is in line with the rest of your spine. Bring your arms by your sides. Turn your palms up, and if you can, widen your arms maybe 45 degrees or so away from the body, but not if your hands or your forearms lift. If that happens, bring your arms closer to center. Close your eyes. Take a couple of deeper breaths to arrive, so let the air out. Inhale through the nose, and exhale out of the mouth. Do that again. Inhale through the nose. Exhale out through the mouth. Last time, inhaling. Exhale. And now just start a conscious breath flow in and out through the nose. And as you breathe, just notice your starting point. What does your body feel like today? Is there tension or pain? Does it feel kind of free? Same thing with the mind. Is there something on your mind? Stress? Tension? What's your mood like? Your energy level? And all of this stuff, you're just noticing in the moment versus trying to change or fix anything. Just notice what you brought with you to the mat. Start to focus more on your breath, and as you breathe in and out through the nose, begin to smooth out your breath, begin to deepen. Feel the body moving to the breath. Notice the belly rising and falling. The rib cage widening, releasing. And as you exhale, begin to let the body weight drop. Allow the body weight to become heavier. Five more conscious breaths. thighs are soft, body gets heavier with every exhale. And then just notice if there's been any shifts in the body or the mind. The ultimate goal of a yoga practice is to calm the fluctuations of the mind. So notice if that happened. If not, no worries, just observing what is. And then ask yourself, what brought you to your mat? Why are you practicing today? Whatever answer comes up for you, use that as an intention for your practice. Great. Now align your heels with your sitting bones, your feet facing dead ahead, your knees facing the ceiling. We'll do some pelvic rocks. So bring your hands to your hip points and keeping your pelvis on the floor the whole time. As you inhale, arch your low back, so you're tilting your pelvis forward. And as you exhale, flatten your low back, so you're tilting your pelvis back. Continue that as you inhale, arch the low back. As you exhale, flatten the low back. Move at your own pace to your breath. Notice if there's any pain present in the low back and careful of overarching. You want to avoid pain. My mantra is always no pain, no pain. When you arch your low back, it's called an anterior pelvic tilt. When you flatten your low back, it's called a posterior pelvic tilt. Notice how the position of the pelvis dictates the position of the spine. So let's bring the pelvis back to neutral. So you're neither arching nor flattening. Widen your feet again, let your knees rest together. And now you'll notice you've got a little bit of space beneath your low back, none beneath your upper back, and a little bit of space beneath your neck. So neutral pelvis, neutral spine. Bring your arms by your sides. And once again, align your heels with your sitting bones, knees face the ceiling, and then grab your right leg and draw it in towards your right shoulder. You can hold your hamstrings or shin, depending on you. Bring the foot back to the floor and repeat the second side. Hold on to shin or hamstrings. Lower it down and repeat right side. So you're just going to alternate right and left. You can switch in midair if you like. Bring a little bit of a stretch to the buttock area, low back. One more time each side. And then hug both knees into your chest. This is called Apadasana. Low back stretch, buttock stretch. So make some circles with the legs. So bring your hands to the tops of your legs and press them away from you, keeping the knees together. Widen them apart. Keep them wide, bring them in towards your armpits and together into your chest, and continue making circles. My inner feet are touching, yours don't need to, whatever feels comfortable for you. And what we're doing is we're moving the leg bones in their hip sockets to create some warmth and fluidity. Switch the direction. You can move at a pace that feels comfortable for you. Moving the legs moves the pelvis, which moves the spine. Switch direction one more time. And take an Apanasana, hugging knees to chest again. We'll do some windshield wipers, starting slow to start. Bring your feet to the floor again. Widen them wider than your hips. Let your inner knees touch. And bring your arms in a T position, palms up or down. Start to let both legs fall to the right. Doesn't matter how much. You're on your outer right foot, your inner left. And see if you can feel a stretch from the top of that left hip point towards your left knee. Let the body weight drop. Let this feel good. And switch to the second side. Lower both knees towards the left. You're on your outer left foot, inner right. And emphasize the stretch along the top of the right hip leg. So right hip point towards right thigh, right knee. And now let's start to move to the breath as though your legs were windshield wipers. Humans are rhythmic creatures, so when you move to the breath, it creates this calming feeling, which again is the ultimate goal of the yoga practice. Finish your second side. Come to the first side again and hold. Stretch that left hip point towards your left knee. And now traction by lifting your left arm above your head, so fingers face the wall behind you, palm faces the ceiling. And reach for the wall behind you as you reach your hip point towards your knee. Nice side body stretch. Bring your arm back to starting point, windshield wipe to the left. Pause there. And reach your right arm overhead, palm faces up, fingertips face the wall behind you. Right hip point reaches for that right knee. This should feel good. It all should feel good. Come back to center, constructive rest pose. Neutral pelvis, neutral spine. Just kind of absorb what you did. So now we'll come into Supta Tadasana, reclined mountain pose. Stretch your legs out in front of you and align your heels with your sitting bones again. Flex your ankles so that your toes face the ceiling. And then bring one hand to the back of your head and just use it to lift your head so you can look at your feet. The feet want to turn out. Instead, point them directly to the ceiling. Knee faces the ceiling, toes face the ceiling. You can lower your head back down, bring your arms by your sides, palms down, and just notice the position of this pose. So the crown of the head in line with the pelvic floor, heels in line with sitting bones, side body from ears, shoulders, hips, knees, ankles, all that side body in one line. And activate the pose by pressing the heels and the tops of the thighs straight down. If your pelvis tilted forward, if your low back arch increased, I want you to lift your lower belly a little. So bring the pelvis and the spine back to neutral. Keep your legs strong. Then reach your fingertips to the ceiling right above your shoulders with your palms facing each other. Imagine you were hugging a block between your hands and press your index and your thumb knuckles into that imaginary block. Keep flexing your ankles, legs strong. Big toe mount forward, pinky toe back. And then start to move the arms and pause as soon as your low ribs lift. So mine lift pretty quickly. When that happens, I want you to draw them toward one another and lift your lower belly to bring the spine and the pelvis back to neutral. Keep all that and reach your arms any amount more towards the wall behind you without losing that neutrality. Keep pressing your big toe mounts forward, your pinky toes back, spreading the soles of the feet. Keep hugging that imaginary block. Keep lifting your lower belly. Breathing, don't forget to breathe. This is Supta Urdhva Hastasana, reclined upward hands pose. Take one more inhale. And as you exhale, come into Shavasana. Bring your arms by your sides, widen your feet wider than your hips, let them flop open. Bring your arms away from your body with your palms up. Shavasana means corpse pose. And just let the whole body release down. Feel your body absorbing what you just did. Awesome. For the next pose, you may or may not need your strap. I like to use a strap, but if you don't have it, no worries. Bend both knees, plant both feet, and align your heels with your sitting bones again. Knees face the ceiling. Let's start left side. Hug your left knee in towards your left shoulder as you did earlier, and either, if you don't have a strap, grab your hamstrings, and if you do, strap the ball of the left foot. Either way, lift the heel to the sky. If you have your strap, you're holding one side of each hand, and I'd like you to bring your heel above your hip. If your knee is bent, that's fine. I would rather it be straight, and I'd rather your heel come forward of your hip with the leg straight. But if you want to, I don't mind so much if you bend your knee, up to you. Press your big toe mound into the strap and pull the pinky side down with the other side. Press your left thigh, the thigh bone, straight forward towards your right heel. That brings space to your lower back. Keep all that. If you're feeling too much, bend your knee a little more or bring your heel forward. If you're not feeling enough, straighten the right leg into Tadasana, what we just did. So heel in line with sitting bone, toes face the ceiling. Now press both quads, fronts of the thighs, towards both hamstrings so the legs stay strong. Big toe mounds, away from inner knee, pinky toes towards outer knee. Neutral pelvis, neutral spine. To go deeper here, bring your left thigh bone back in space without changing anything else. So you might notice that this left hip all of a sudden is hiking up towards left shoulder, but don't let that happen. Instead, send it forward towards your right heel, maintaining that pelvic and spinal neutrality. Breathe into whatever demand this pose is presenting to you. Hamstring stretch. Shoulders are on the floor. Collarbones are wide. Eyes can be open or closed. And we'll release this side so you can remove your strap or your hands and see if you can just float that leg forward. And notice that it might feel longer now than the right. It hasn't grown, the bones haven't grown, but you've made more space, so it might feel longer for you. Let's do the second side. Bend both knees, plant both feet. Either use your hands on your hamstrings or strap the ball of the right foot and lift the heel to the sky above the hip. Send it forward if you like, if your hamstrings are singing to you, or bend the knee. Press big toe mound into the strap and pull the pinky side down with the strap. Press the thigh bone straight forward. Stay here or straighten your left leg into Tadasana. Heel in line with sitting bone, ankle flexed. Both quads, tops of the thighs, are pressing towards the backs of the thighs, towards the hamstrings. Big toe mounds forward, pinky toes back. And notice if the right hip is hiking up towards the shoulder, instead keep the pelvis neutral, right hip towards left heel. And if you feel like you need more, thigh bone can move back in space any amount without losing that basic alignment. We're trying to move the leg independently of the pelvis. That's called hip opening. Breathe into the demand of the pose. Let the body release down as you exhale. Feel the calming effect of your breathing, of your paying attention to the pose. Maybe go a little deeper, never forcing depth. You'll just injure yourself. And then go ahead and release your leg. Float it down if that works for your body. Your strap off to the side if using, and come into Shavasana briefly, corpse pose, feet wide, feet flop open, arms by your sides. We'll take a thread the needle left side. Bend your knees, plant both feet, heels in line with sitting bones. Cross your left ankle over your right thigh. Once again, flex the ankle. So draw the toes towards the knee, but press the big toe mound away from inner knee, pinky toe towards outer knee, so you're spreading the sole of that foot. To start, bring your left hand to your left thigh and press it away from your hip. With your right foot, press forward and down into your mat. We're looking for a stretch in the outer left buttock here, and if you're not really feeling one and want to go deeper, then reach your hands to grab your right hamstring and pull the right leg towards your right shoulder. We'll want to drift into the chest, that's losing that pelvic neutrality. Keep the knee moving towards the right shoulder. So keep your pelvis even as you turn the leg out. You can also hold your shin. And as you pull the leg back, send the left leg ever so slightly to the left. Try to keep your hip points in line with one another. And try not to lift the whole pelvis up, the whole sacrum. See if you can keep your sacrum on the floor. Breathe to meet the demand of the pose, particularly your exhales. Eyes open or closed. And you might be trying to fix or judge or should, and all the things our minds do, but what we're trying to do is to be present with what is. So notice the sensation in the body. Feel free to adjust as you pay attention to body and breath. Feel the shoulders moving away from the ears and towards the floor. Eyes are soft. Let's release that. And we'll take up an Apanasana again, hug knees to chest. And we'll do the second side. Feet to the floor, knees bent, heels in line with sitting bones. Cross right ankle over left thigh. Flex the ankle. So draw the toes towards the knee, but press your big toe away from your inner knee, pinky toe towards your outer knee. So what that does is it activates muscles along the shin, which then locks the knee when you're opening up the hip so that you're not going to injure the knee. So it's an important step. And then start by bringing right hand to right leg. Press the right leg away from you and push your left foot forward and down into the floor. If you're feeling a sensation of stretch outer hip, it's awesome, you're there already. If you feel like you could use more, bend that knee, reach for your hamstrings or your shin, and draw the leg back. This left foot, you can keep just relaxed. You can flex it if you like. Keep the knee in line with the left shoulder. It wants to move in towards the chest. Keep it in line with left shoulder as you can. And bring the right leg towards the right a little, as though you're pressing it very gently into a wall. At the same time, the big toe moves away from inner knee, pinky toe towards outer knee. The shoulders might be drawing toward one another or lifting towards the ears. Instead, send them towards your hips and towards the floor. So the chest stays nice and wide. Exhales, release the body weight down, meeting the demand of the pose. Pay attention to the movement of your breath, the sensations in your body, exactly as they are. Release the leg, hug the knees into the chest again, and bring the feet to the floor. Constructive rest to absorb. You can also come into Shavasana if that's more comfortable and you want some straightness in your legs. I often like to just kind of notice the after effects of poses. What it stirred up in my body, my mind. All right, so bend your knees again. We'll come into this next pose will have 4 stages, so choose the one that works best for your body. We'll start left side again into a Supta Ardha Balasana, a reclined half child's pose. So hug left knee, you can hold hamstrings or shin towards your left shoulder. This foot is relaxed. This leg is bent, foot on the floor. We're looking to feel a little bit of a groin stretch, so right the upper inner thigh, a little bit of a groin stretch. So press that leg straight down to feel that sensation. If you're not feeling enough, I'd say the second stage would be to straighten the right leg in Tadasana again. So leg is active, ankles flexed, all the things we've been doing. At the same time, you're pressing that left leg straight down. That'll be more sensation. The third stage is you bend that knee again, and this time you'd reach your arm for the inside of your leg, outside of your foot for a half happy baby, lifting the heel to the sky above the knee, and then resisting your hand and your foot to allow this thigh once again to descend. But notice if you're trying to compensate and come out of the pose and lose your alignment because you think deeper is where you should be. So listen to your body, listen to your breath, and stay right where your body needs to be. Last stage, right leg in Tadasana again. Right leg is active, thighs pressing down. Big toes, both the big toe mounds away from the inner knees. Pinky side towards outer knees, both legs. Shoulders are wide and heavy. To release that, hug both knees to chest again. And switch for the second side. Left foot to the floor. Supta Ardha Balasana, reclined half child's pose. Draw the knee towards right armpit. You can hold your hamstrings or your shin and press straight down to feel a stretch on the inner right thigh, upper inner thigh. Groin. Stay here or straighten left leg Tadasana. Stay here or bend the knee. Half happy baby, reaching for the inside of the leg, for the outside of the foot, and letting your shin become vertical or vertical-ish, doing your best. Stay there or straighten left leg. So choose the stage that works best for your body in order to feel sensation along the right inner thigh without misaligning. Right thigh pressing down, right foot, right hand, left thigh pressing down, right hand, right foot resisting each other. You want to feel as though somebody were just pressing this right thigh straight down. What are your shoulders doing? How are you breathing? And let's release that again, and we'll hug both knees to chest, Apanasana. And into either constructive rest or Shavasana. Supta Padangusthasana B, so this is a reclined hamstring stretch again that focuses on the inner thigh. For this, if you happen to have a block, it's not necessary, you'll just have to work a little harder if you don't have one. If you do have one, put it outside your left hip. If you have your strap, grab it. If you don't, no worries. Hug the left knee in towards the shoulder and either hold your hamstrings or strap the ball of the left foot. Send the heel to the sky just like we did earlier. Left hip, move it away from the shoulder and press the strap and the foot into each other and straighten the right leg into Tadasana. So knee can be bent some. And now either just hold the outside of your left leg if you don't have a strap, or put both sides of the strap in your left hand. Either way, bring your right arm in a T position, palm can be up or down, and send the leg slowly to the left. If you have a block, it will catch your leg. It will help you to not tip. What the body wants to do is tip over. The right hip wants to lift up and just move towards that heavy leg. So the work here is to keep pressing your right thigh down. A trick that I like to do sometimes is I like to take my right hand, in this case, to my outer left ribs, and then roll the left ribs to the right. So I'm engaging my core to keep my pelvis as even as I can in this position. You're teaching the body to do that by using your hand, and then you can keep doing that, but bring your arm back to the side. Same thing here, big toe bounce forward, pinky toes back. Press the tops of the thighs, the quads, towards the backs of the thighs, the hamstrings. If you feel you could go deeper, you'll just pull your toes back in space towards your shoulder. But as you do that, send your left hip forward, away from your shoulder to keep that pelvic neutrality as best you can. So both sides of the waist feel evenly long. Come back to center, bring the leg back up, heel in line with hip. Remove your strap if you're using. Hug your knee to your chest, and we'll do the second side. Bend both knees, plant both feet. Take the block, if you have one, to the right side, right outside the hip to catch the leg. Hold your hamstrings with your hands or strap the ball of the right foot and lift the heel to the sky. This leg is as straight as you can make it without straining. And then straighten the left leg, pressing both quads towards their hamstrings. Take your leg or your strap in your right hand, left arm in a T for counterbalance, and let the right leg fall slowly to the right. This hip's going to want to lift up. So again, use that trick. Take your right ribs with your left hand and roll the ribs to the left. Use your core strength to keep the pelvis from tipping. Hand teaches the body to do that, but continue to do that as you bring your left arm to the left. Keep pressing your big toe mounds away from your inner knees. And if you want to go deeper, draw the leg, whole leg back, but don't let the hip go with it. So move the leg independently of the hip. I've heard a teacher once say it's kind of like your leg is a car door. The rest of your body is the car. So it's just the door that moves. The whole car doesn't move with it. And that's hip opening. Breathe into the demand of the pose. Notice if you're creating tension elsewhere, shoulders, head, neck are usual places. Bring the leg back up. Remove your strap if using. Hug your knee into your chest. And come into a neutral pose, either Shavasana or constructive rest, or you can hug your knees to your chest if you prefer. Now we'll come into Supta Balasana, so recline child's pose. Bend both knees, plant both feet. Let's take an Apanasana first, hug knees to chest again. And let's widen the knees towards your armpits. So my thighs are kind of on the outer ribs here. And I'm going to do the same thing as I did earlier, just press straight down. That should feel good on your low back. So you're pressing your shins or your hamstrings straight down. And that's the sensation we're looking for. See if you can keep your low back pretty much on the floor instead of rounding it up. Do your best. And you might want to take a happy baby instead of this. It's very similar. Sometimes I stay here, sometimes I take happy baby. Either way, you'd bring your arms inside your legs, flex your feet, hold your outer feet, and then again, lift heels right above the knees if you can. If you can't, maybe they're forward. But what I really don't want you to do is to compensate and lift head, neck, shoulders in order to reach something to go quote unquote deeper. Press your feet in your hands and feel that same action of the thighs descending. Nice stretch to the inner upper thighs, the groins. Let your collarbones spread. Feel your shoulder blades dropping into the floor. Some people like to rock side to side. Maybe one leg touches the floor and then the other, maybe not. It's like a little happy baby. Maybe you've got one in the room with you now. And then release, hug knees to chest again. Take your neutral pose to absorb. Just notice maybe not just the effects of that pose, but the cumulative effects of your practice so far. What does it feel like? We'll take a Supta Gomukhasana, a reclined cow face. So bend your knees again, plant your feet. This may not work for your body, and if it doesn't, then take a thread the needle again, either with the feet on the floor or you're hugging in. It's very, very similar. This just gets a little bit of a different area of the outer hip, but it's not necessary to strain to get here. But if it works for you, Cross the left thigh over right so that your knees are in line. And then lift your head, neck, shoulders, lift your foot off the floor and reach for either your hamstrings or your shin on that right leg. Lower the head, neck, shoulders back down and do your best to not lift the whole pelvis off so you're on your lowest rib. Do your best to keep your sacrum on the floor here. We're focusing on the left outer hip, so I want you to flex your left ankle again to protect the knee. It locks the knee so that the hip can open safely. And then pull both knees back with your hands. And you might notice this left hip's like, I'm going to hike up again. So instead, send it forward and down so it's even with the right hip, both sides of the waist evenly long again. To go deeper here, and some days for me I do, some days I don't, you can flex both ankles and reach for your outer feet. When I do that, I often distort my pelvis, so I'm going to go back to where I was, but you can grab your feet if you like. Drawing the knees back as that left hip moves away from the shoulder and down towards the floor. Feel the collarbones widening as the shoulders descend. Keep the eyes soft. Right foot can relax or stay active, up to you. And release, take an Apanasana, and we'll just switch sides. So either thread the needle, so ankle over thigh, feet can stay on the floor, or you grab your left leg, or right thigh over left this time. Lift your head, neck, shoulders so you can reach your left shin or your hamstrings. Lay yourself back down and draw the legs straight back towards the center of your chest. And the right ankle flexes. So big toe mound away from inner knee, pinky toe towards outer knee. As you draw the leg back, press the leg down. And notice if the right hip is hiking up towards right shoulder. Instead, send it away from the shoulder and down towards the floor. The focus on alignment really keeps the body, it opens the body in spaces it doesn't necessarily want to open, but where it should, to create balance in the body, which of course creates balance in the mind. Very key to your yoga practice. I'd say the point of your yoga practice. You can grab your outer feet. Don't let the hip hike up as you do so. It's a deeper stretch. I'm going to go back to the other. Release, hug knees to chest. Come to your neutral pose, constructive rest. Or Shavasana. Sometimes people like to windshield wipe in between or make those knee circles. So find something that feels good for you. This next one, you might want your strap again. It's 2 stages. We'll start left side again. Strap the ball of the left foot again, or you can hold your left leg. Straighten the right leg, and this time bring it into Shavasana, so let the foot flop open. Flex your left ankle, big toe mound away from inner knee, pinky toe towards outer knee. Leg nice and strong. And now we're going to take the strap, both sides, or you can just hold either take both sides of the strap in your right hand or hold your left leg with your right hand. Either way, bring your left thumb in your left hip crease. So right where your thigh and your pelvis meet, this little crease, put your thumb there. And then roll your left hip away from your shoulder. You'll feel space in your low back when you do it. I want you to keep that there. And then bring the leg across the body on a diagonal until the toes are in line with your right shoulder. So if you're like me, I'm feeling a big stretch, outer left leg and even outer left hip. My thumb is teaching my hip not to hike up. So you can keep it there, or you can bring your arm to the left, but keep the hip moving forward. To go deeper, pull the toes closer to the right shoulder. without letting the hip hike up. So they're kind of resisting each other on a diagonal to stretch out our left leg. My face always scrunches up for this one, and all kinds of tension patterns elsewhere in the body. So notice your tension patterns and release some of that tension actively. And that's what we do off the mat. You notice tension patterns in your body, you pay attention, you let them go. Notice your exhalations, especially meeting the demand of this pose. Another great thing to do off the mat. And we'll turn this now into a twist. So let's take the thumb back to the hip crease to keep training that hip to move away from the shoulder. And now you can lift the hip up and stack it over the right hip so your leg is perpendicular-ish to your mat. You're holding your leg or you're holding the strap. And now you're on your outer right hip. The left hip is moving away from the left shoulder. Bring your left arm back to the left. The shoulder might be lifted. It's okay. On the ground is fine too, probably optimal. And now we're twisting the spine. So let's increase the twist by lifting your right shoulder, right ribs off the floor. That'll put more weight in the left shoulder, left ribs, which is good. And then turn your head towards your left hand if it doesn't hurt your neck. You can also bend the top knee and just take a regular supine twist with bent legs. Breathe into the demand of the pose. Notice tension patterns you're creating elsewhere in the body. When you notice, you let them go without judgment. Let's come back to center, reach the leg straight up, and then hold onto your leg with both hands or your strap. Either way, I'd like you to pull the center of your chest, shoulders, but release your shoulders towards your hips and towards the floor, but lift the center of your chest up towards your foot. This is core strengthening and a stretch. Maybe pull the thigh bone back. Lower head, neck, shoulders. Release your strap if using. Let's float that leg back down. You can bend your knee and place it. And take a neutral pose. For me, I like Shavasana after that. Do the second side, bend both knees, plant both feet. Right side now, strap the ball of the right foot or hold your hamstrings with your hands. Straighten your left leg, bring it into Shavasana, so relax the left foot out to the left. And take your leg in your left hand or both sides of the strap in your left hand. Bring your right thumb to your right hip crease. Roll the hip forward away from your shoulder. Bring the leg across the body so the toes are in line with your left shoulder. And with your strap or hands, pull your right toes towards left shoulder, but move the right hip away from the shoulder. These oppositional actions stretch the outer right leg. I'm sure you don't need me to tell you that. So notice if you're creating tension, and instead, feel your exhalations meeting the demand of the pose. Body weight descends as you exhale. Observing the sensation, the heat, the tension in the outer right leg that you're creating by taking this shape. And maybe making nothing more of it than that. It's just sensation that you're feeling in your body. You can release your thumb or keep it there, but continue to send that right hip away from your shoulder. Right arm can come back into a T. And we'll turn this into a twist now. So stack right hip above left. You can again send the hip forward with your thumb. Leg perpendicular-ish. You're holding your leg with your left hand or both sides of the strap with your left hand. Right hip moves forward. Right toes maybe towards left shoulder. It's a much bigger stretch. And then twist a little more by lifting left ribs, left shoulder blade off the floor, right shoulders, right ribs will descend, and turn your head to the right. I'm going to turn my head towards you so you can hear me better, but keep allowing the body weight to drop. Use your exhalations to allow that to happen. The nervous system will respond by deep breathing, and the stretches will be more effective for the body, and the mind will also become more calm. You can bend the the top knee if you like, if that's a better twist for you. Lift the leg straight back up. You'll take that little core strengthener, hold your leg with both hands or the strap with both hands. Either way, you're pulling down toward you so that you lift the center of your chest towards your foot, the shoulders towards your hips and towards the floor. Center of the chest lifts. Maybe the leg comes back some, deeper stretch. Release head, neck, shoulders down. Move your strap if using and release your foot to the floor and come into a resting position. I'd like to stretch the front of the hips. Ideally, a block is optimal for this. So bend your knees, plant your feet, place your block beneath your pelvis. If you don't have a block with you and you want to stretch the front of your hips, then I'll show you real quick. You'll have to come off your back and come into a lunge. So you bring one foot forward and let this pelvis move forward and down. So stretching the front of the right hip. So that's if you don't have a block. If you do have a block, or something else, a book, lift your pelvis up, put the block on its lowest height, right underneath your sacrum. If you do this a lot, and you feel like you can heighten the block to its medium height, then do that, but not if it's pinching your low back in any way. So otherwise, you're in a lunge with left foot forward, so we'll stretch the front of the right hip. So let's take your left leg, draw it back like we've been doing, and then straighten the right leg any amount, and I like it in Shavasana, so the toe is flopped open to the right, leg is relaxed. If you want Tadasana, active leg, toes face the ceiling, feel free to do that. I'm going to let mine flop open, and I'm feeling a release in the front of the right hip, psoas area. Just letting that leg get heavy and feeling that mild stretch there. Might be deeper for you. To go deeper, you would draw the left leg back. You're holding hamstrings or shin. If you're in the lunge, you're just letting your pelvis move forward and down to stretch the front of the right hip. Even if you're in your lunge, let your shoulders be heavy, so same cues for either position. Also, if you're in the supine position, hold onto your hamstrings and lift your heel towards the sky. It's a little bit more intense, plus then you get a hamstring stretch out of it. Maybe you can point, flex your ankle a couple times. Maybe make some circles in either direction. So just add things you can add on if you like. My primary intention for this, though, is to stretch the front of the right hip, which will happen in your lunge or in this supine hip flexor stretch. Let's bend the right knee, plant the right foot, bring your left foot to the floor. If you're in the lunge, switch sides. This pose, hug right knee back. Stretch left leg forward. If it's elevated, that's fine. Let the leg turn out if you like, or make it more active, Tadasana. Feel the weight of this leg stretching the front of the left hip. And you know, everybody's different, so you may not be feeling much of a stretch. You might be feeling a significant stretch, but we're not trying to create strain in the body in any way. It's certainly not pain. Either way, you're observing the sensations in your body, how your mind is reflecting those sensations. Breathing into the demand, especially if it is demanding for you. And you can take that little hamstring stretch, which adds a little bit more intensity to the hip opener, to the front of the hip opener, psoas area. Adds a little hamstring. I don't care if your leg's bent. You can make those movements of the ankle. Maybe circles. And let's bend the left knee, plant the left foot, right foot to the floor. This is restorative bridge pose, Setu Bandhasana. You can lower your block a notch or even raise it, some of you. And we'll come into Viparita Karani, which is legs up the wall pose. If you happen to have a free wall in your house and you want to go against a wall and do it there, that's optimal. I don't have that right here, so I'm just going to lift my heels to the sky. And I personally like my legs pretty passive here, as though they were against a wall. Some people like more action, so they can be Tadasana-like legs. I'm going to keep mine kind of relaxed. Close my eyes. And I like the image of this pose. A traditional image is though your legs were a mountain. Like there was a stream coming down the mountain, starting at your feet, all the way down your legs, and then landing in your very soft belly, as though your belly were a lake. Let your belly be soft, head heavy. Let's come out of Viparita Karani, legs up the wall pose, bend both knees, plant both feet. Now you're back again in Setu Bandhasana, restorative bridge. And we'll come out of that. So lift your pelvis. Remove your block and let your tailbone move forward as you lower all the way back down. If you were in a lunge, you were in a epically long lunge. Let's take one more pose before Shavasana, a supine crescent. So stretch your legs forward and reach your arms overhead, fingers face the wall behind you. We're going to come into a crescent moon shape on the left side. So let's clasp either your fingers, or you can clasp your left wrist with your right hand, or you can clasp both elbows, whatever you can reach. Keep your pelvis where it is, and scooch your shoulders and your head to the left a little. Keep your pelvis where it is, and scooch your legs to the left. So you're in a crescent moon shape, stretching the right side of the body. So we're going to stay here, I don't know, a few breaths. It can get intense, so if it's too much, just bring everything a little closer to center. If you want more, move things to the left a little. You can also cross right ankle over left. But feel as though the right arm, we're moving towards the wall behind you, and the right foot, we're moving towards the wall in front of you. Feel as though the ribs, we're lifting off of the pelvis towards your shoulder, and the pelvis, we're moving towards your feet. And stretching the side body, right side. Let your head go here. Well, let's come to center into Shavasana, just briefly. Feet wide, flop open, arms by your sides. Notice the difference between left and right side. And let's take that same pose, supine crescent, stretching the left side. So reach your legs away from you again. Arms toward the wall behind you. Clasp where you can. And bring your head, neck, and shoulders to the right, keeping your pelvis where it is. And then both legs to the right, again, keeping the pelvis where it is. Reach your left arm towards the wall behind you as though those ribs were reaching towards the wall behind you. And then maybe cross left ankle, it's not necessary. But stretch your left hip point towards your left foot, kind of like we did in the windshield wiper. Stretching left side of the body. You can clasp elbows, reaching the elbow towards the wall behind you. Come back to center. Reach your arms overhead. And we're going to come into Shavasana. So I like some warmth. It's a little bit chilly in this room here. I happen to have a blanket that I'm going to drape over me. If you're cold, put something on. Stay nice and warm in Shavasana. Let your feet be wider than your hips so your toes are facing the bottom corners of your mat. Arms away from the body with your palms up. Let the body weight descend. Allow it to sink down heavily. Feel the body becoming 10% heavier. Feel as though your body were a sponge, absorbing all the energy you put out in this practice, getting heavier and heavier as it absorbs that energy. Let it sink. Take rest. Start to deepen your breath. Lick your lips, take a swallow. Gently begin to move your fingers and your toes. Little by little, add more breath, more movement. And if you like, on your next inhale, stretch your arms overhead, lengthen your legs forward. And as you breathe out, bend your knees, plant your feet. From there, roll to one side. And when you're ready,
come into a seated cross-legged position. You can sit on a block or a blanket if you have one. Find that nice tall spine. Close your eyes for a moment and notice the effects of your practice on your body and your mind. How did your practice align with your intention? And always more importantly, what will you take when you leave your mat today? Bring your hands to your heart, acknowledge your practice. I like to end practices with a moment of gratitude for our health, for our loved ones, for our connection to each other, and for the infinite possibilities that surround us in each moment. Bring your thumbs to your forehead, to your heart center, bow your heads. Thank you so much for practicing with me. Namaste.